Hello and welcome to Indefinite Lunch and Infinite Combinations number 115.
Keep it riveted till. There she is. There she is.
And we are continuing a review series of the show by Ronald D called For All Mankind. And just to catch you up, if you're just joining us now, the Russians made it to the moon first, so the U.S. decided the race must continue, and now we, instead of being complacent after Apollo, after being the first on the moon, we've decided to be the first with a moon base, and that's where we are now. And so today we're looking at the episodes Hi Bob and Rupture. This series is kind of taking a turn a little bit. So we're still on the moon. We're still worried about the Russians and who also have a base on the moon now. After we had our first base, they made a base also, and so there's some worry with that and everything and all that. But there's also a sharp turn directly into melodrama. So and it kind of eats at your heart quite a bit. And and uh this uh, it kind of hurt me on two fronts. The second episode, Rupture, not only because I'm a mother, but also because I just lost a friend in a similar fashion. I don't want to remember him for how he passed, but how he lived. But it was kind of impossible to not think about it. So that was definitely something. Also, breaking news for Twitter. Twitter no longer wants you to live stream on their platform anymore. They said a premium account on X is required to stream on the platform. So this is the Elon Musk's plan for Twitter, is to slowly degrade the services and force you into buying their force you into a point where you want to buy a premium account. However, I will not be doing that. So I guess I will not be going live on X anytime soon until I get the minimum requirements. I don't remember. Is it 2,000 followers to get premium for free? I don't recall, but give Elon money. He needs it more than you, says Gavin Blackburn. Thank you, Gavin. Hello, and good morning to Maddie's daddy.
Good morning, everybody.
Yes, and I'm not really mad about it. It just jumped out at me on StreamYard right now, so I just have to remove it. I guess I'm not streaming on X anymore. And just get rid of
I'm
that.
still a little bit away from 2,000 myself, but I do pay for the whatever blue check mark,
To
mostly
actually have.
because I paid for that because there's a lot of fake profiles that are trying to defame me, and it's like every day I deal with like a message from somebody saying that, oh, you're some kind of a racist, sexist, and I'm like, no, these are you know copycat, because there's a YouTube channel called the Knights of Melvin, and they've been after me for a while because uh, they don't like me for whatever reason. But yeah,
Oh, those guys are total jerks to everyone. Oh, don't pay them any
so
mind.
yeah, they still have a bunch
no.
of like profiles out there that are trying
They're
to like paint me
they're
as some
jerks
kind
to
of
my
a
friends too. So just
yeah. So
I
it's a
probably
necessary evil.
don't give them any air. But I guess I
Yeah,
understand that. I just don't want to pay for features that used to be free.
yeah, no, I get it. I mean, ever since he's kind of gained control of it, it's been a little wonky. But I mean, it's been hard to get rid of certain people that have been. I mean, it's been really bad just this last weekend. I mean, especially given what's happened in the news. There's just been a big upsurge in, you know, a lot of reprehensible behavior, and the platform is kind of at this point not doing enough to kind of deal with it, and so we basically have to police ourselves and hope our friends will have our backs and help us report behavior that's not
Um,
ideal. So
yes, I think I know what you mean, and yeah, so definitely, I try not to get into real life politics, but it, don't incite violence with other people. It's kind of simple, simple,
yeah,
simple.
it should be absolutely.
Right? RVM 371 says, "Hail, finally something other than the news of the past few days. Decompression time." Yes, see, that's what we're here for. That's what this
Yeah.
channel is all about, actually. So,
Well,
so
I mean,
this is not. This is going to be about pretend alternate history, not real news of today.
I mean, I don't know if it's potentially any lighter than what's going on in real life right now, but
The
um,
first one is the first one's
yeah,
okay, but
yeah,
yeah, then it yeah, then it breaks your heart quite a bit.
yeah, it
So
takes a
I
turn,
did,
but
but I did provide that warning because my
mhm,
show is usually more lighthearted, and
right,
yeah, this one kind of rips your heart out and stomps
yeah,
on it.
it does.
And hey, Scotty R37 is here. Greetings, Jill, panel, and chat. And Gavin returns the greeting. Desire of Gen 1/6. Yes, he is. He does want that. So So yeah, so we're gonna get into some melodrama here, but first there's some other stuff besides just that. There's a okay, so let's get started with Hi Bob.
Mhm.
It was first aired November 29th, 2019. So right after Thanksgiving. And these are also holiday shows. So on top of being more melodramatic, they're also Christmas episodes. Not very Christmassy. But the author is Ronald D. Moore. The writer of Hi Bob is Ronald D. Moore. Director is Mira Menon. And the Apollo 2020 the Apollo 22 crew is still stuck on their 90-day mission, but it's not 90 days anymore. It's gone much further than that because they've got to wait because of the explosion. There was an explosion of Apollo 23. And so their relief crew did not arrive. So they're still they have to wait until the malfunction was discovered and fixed. And so they're still waiting. And as they're waiting, they're watching the same VHS tape of the same 6 Bob Newport episodes. Is that
The
is
Bob
that right?
Newhart show. Yeah,
Bob Newhart. Yeah. See, okay, so this is you're talking to a person who doesn't know who Bob Newhart is.
it's an older show.
Yeah.
It's even older than me. So
Yeah. Yeah, so I had to look him up. He was one of the top stand-up comedians from his era.
mhm. I think he's still around too.
Oh, that's cool. Really? Let
And
me
he's
check.
94 right now. Wow.
Hmm. He played. Yeah, he did a whole lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I
Yeah.
didn't know about this TV show until this episode. And oh yes. So let's see. Where are we? Oh no, this is going without me. I can't see the slides. 86 days on the moon. Okay, so 86 days. Wait, how long was the mission supposed to be? It wasn't supposed to be 86 days. How long was it
Yeah.
supposed to be total? Do you remember?
Vaguely, I think it might have been like 30, if I'm not mistaken. It wasn't
30. Okay,
supposed to
so
be obviously that
it
long.
was a lot shorter than 90. I don't know why I said 90 then. Hello, hey, Matt Jean. They found caves on this moon this week. Bet they're full of old AOL CDs. Yeah. Oh, who's launching AOL CDs into space? I know people are using them to make art.
Somebody's got to use them.
Hmm.
I think I still have a few of those. Get free AOL with this CD.
You still get those? Oh, you still have them.
Yeah, they're
I
like
didn't
locked
get
away in
them.
some cabinet somewhere.
Oh, neat. They're like ancient artifacts now. Sci-fi
Yeah.
Sith Dan says, "Hey, hello there, Joe. So who's the new guy? This is Philip,
Mm-hmm.
and he's Fleet Admiral Levi. Yeah, I remember. And he's got a
Fleet
YouTube.
Admiral Levi on YouTube and the Phil one on Twitter.
Yes, and he knows quite a bit about the real life NASA and things, and it's a lot of fun to talk to him.
I'm a
So
big
they
fan of space history, science fiction, and especially For All Mankind.
hmm, just like the current Boeing space mission. Yeah, Gavin, that's right. There's a
Yeah.
crew who's stuck on the space station because of a failure, because of a mechanical failure that they need to figure out before they can bring the crew home. The same thing is
Yeah,
happening in real life, sort of.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think the real life crew is only like a couple months in, but or almost 2 months in. But even then, it was only
Hmm.
supposed to be like a week. So yeah, it's a problem, especially now that
It's
SpaceX is grounded until they figure out what went wrong. I actually saw the launch that SpaceX
exactly.
did the other day because they launched out of Vandenberg, and I noticed that the second stage didn't actually properly. Because usually you'll see it go straight up in a line toward the south here, because we launch I think from north to west or north to south. So when I was looking toward the south, I saw that the streak that's supposed to go across the horizon didn't do that. It kind of like stopped, and I was like, okay, that's kind of strange. I've never seen that before. But I kind of chalked it up to like, oh, it must be some kind of a, I don't know, like visual issue because it's still kind of daylight, and
Hmm.
so maybe the streak of the rocket didn't actually. I couldn't see it because it was just too light out, but that apparently wasn't the case at all. So now that SpaceX is down, Blue Origin doesn't have the ships to travel out that far yet, and NASA doesn't have anything to do that either.
No,
Yeah,
they
the
had
Boeing
one
crew is
thing, and that was it.
yeah, yeah, the Boeing crew is basically functionally stuck up there until they can figure out what's going on with the actual
Yeah, they keep
Starliner
wanting to say,
itself.
"Don't say they're stranded," but they're kind of
Yeah,
stranded.
yeah, it's yeah,
Mm, so, yeah. Anyway, well, hopefully they figure that out soon.
yeah,
I think it's
definitely.
a very similar situation where they are able to get supplies and stuff, but
Hmm.
just not, a vessel that can get them home.
Yeah, I guess that's why they don't want to call it stranded because technically they can still get
Yeah,
supplies on the cargo mission. So
yeah, they
it's
could,
kind of
they
like
could.
what it is. So
Yeah, it's this episode.
mhm,
Except, I'm sure they got better entertainment.
most likely, I'd hope so.
Imagine if it was Star Trek episodes. Oh, that would be better. So the reason why they had the same tape and they can't get any more is because this is the time where VHS is just coming out or just the technology is new and Hollywood doesn't want to perpetuate the notion that you can make copies of movies and distribute them. DJ
Because I don't
Play
remember.
Nice. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't remember if they said the tapes were Betamax or if they were VHS.
I think they said VHS.
Hmm.
Let me go check here. VHS. Oh,
So
did
maybe
they
that was
not
the
say
other format.
VHS? You know what? They're right. They didn't say. They did not say if it was one or the other, but they did show the tapes. So if you're a physical media history expert, you can look at it. You can look at the scene where Daniel is trying to fix the tape and determine for yourself.
Mhm.
So if anybody's seen this episode and knows that scene, tell me. But I was pretty sure it was it looked like a VHS, but it could be.
Yeah, I think Betamax. It has kind of like because you know, like on a VHS tape, it has like two little like I don't know what you want to call it, like windows that look into the reels. I think
Mhm.
the Beta Max only has like one little like window that has where you can see the sort of tape that's in it.
Oh, okay. We'll revisit
Yeah,
this when we get to that slide then.
yeah. If I'm not mistaken.
Yep. And Danielle drops her ant farm. And so that comes up. So it's not just a matter of getting those ants back into the farm, it becomes a big part of the plot. I want to say
Mhm.
hello to DJ Play Nice. He says, Wee!
Mhm.
And Canadian Spider Man, he's also here. He says, Good morning, Jill. I just had 2 commercials play on your stream. Yay! I hope YouTube pays up. Yeah. My 2 cents are in the mail. Thank you, Canadian Spider-Man, for watching those.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with how YouTube does their AdSense stuff, but
Mhm.
yeah, I keep forgetting that YouTube has ads because I pay for the premium function. So when
Right.
people tell me about it, I'm like, what? YouTube has ads. And I completely forget that my experience is completely different from other people's. That's weird.
That's true. And also, you could be getting ads. People could be seeing ads if they're looking at your videos, even if you're not monetized,
Yeah,
because
it's crazy.
then YouTube gets all the money if you're not
Hmm.
monetized.
Yeah.
Beta versus VHS is a significant difference. Beta is small, and you're right about the windows. So we'll find out.
Hmm.
But they say they're doing fine. Because just basically this one VHS tape is their only pastime. So they've got a little inside joke that they throw around. If somebody says hi Bob, everybody has to say hi Bob at the same time. And there's one point where they're mad at somebody and they say, "Don't you hi Bob me?"
Yeah.
And so this is the episode where I learn about who Bob Newhart is. But what's cool here is, let's see. Well, hmm, let me see what's in these notes if I can relate to any of this stuff. When I look at a picture of him, I did watch some of Big Bang Theory. I see that he played Professor Proton
Hmm.
in that show.
Yeah, I think that's right. What little of the Big Bang Theory I did watch, I believe he did
Hmm.
pop up.
Yep. Lee Anthony Davis says, Hello, anti-derivative Jill and panel, and everyone on the chat from Lee Anthony Davis. Hello, Lee. Hope you're having a good day. How are you doing? And so this the show that they're watching, this Bob show, is kind of, it's a comedy, but it's about, I guess it's about psychology at the same time. So that has them talking about psychology too. And Danielle asks if they've ever seen a shrink. And everybody else had to deal with 5 of them. She only had to deal with 1 because she was in the accelerated program. And apparently, the shrink always asks about ancestral dreams, and that if they have them, it means they're gay or something. I don't know. I don't know what that's about. I've never really been to a psychologist, so I don't know if they ask those kind of questions.
No, I haven't either, so I couldn't relate to the situation, but I know I've heard some stories about like some of them bringing up like, I don't know if it's been recently, but I know that there's been discussions in the past of, bringing up the Oedipal complex, where it's like, you secretly want to have sex with your mother or something. That's what Sigmund Freud used to.
Oh yes,
that was one of his theories,
absolutely.
and so, obviously not every one of his theories have survived to this day, but it's still interesting.
Well, the one that survived the most
explore.
is a cigar is sometimes just a cigar.
Yeah.
Canadian Spider-Man says, Big Bang Theory really pissed me off. Those guys aren't real geeks, fake poser geeks. Let's put them up against Jill's chat and see how smart they are. Posers. Yeah, so yeah, I kind of feel a similar way about it. I watched it a little bit, but yeah, you're right. They did a lot of more mockery rather than reality on some occasions.
Yeah.
So I know what you mean.
I didn't really finish that series, but it did sort of.
Yeah, makes sense.
Once I got to a point of watching that one, it was a little bit kind of like, these people. I feel like it's a very minimized view of what nerd culture or geek culture is, and I think that's where I fell off with it.
Yeah, it's a surface level.
And speaking of the surface, they're moving from the surface deeper into the crater here, and
right.
now we know we have ice here.
They're going to use ice to create fuel, and then they're also mining ore. They said.
Forget exactly which one they're actually trying to mine there, like in terms of material. I want to say lithium, but I might be thinking ahead.
Lithium. Let me see where. I can't remember. Yeah, they just said gathering ore samples. They didn't say what ore. I guess it's not really a priority in this episode to know what it is they were mining. Hey, chat, help Jill grow this channel by hitting the like and share buttons. That really does help. Thank you, Canadian Spider-Man. So they're watching that episode. And, and this episode is also about astronauts and their psychological issues from having to deal with sleep problems, eating problems. They're complaining about the food, obviously the entertainment, feeling closed in. We're creatures that are meant to be able to interact with, the Earth. So without the Earth, we're kind of hurting a bit.
Yeah.
And okay, this isn't helping me. Let me go back here. John Fielder. So when I saw this Bob Newhart episode, I was like, hey, wait a minute, it's Piglet. And also Jack the Ripper from Star Trek.
Yeah.
So
Which probably would explain why Danielle is familiar with him.
yeah, she apparently while her mom was working, she watched a lot of TV. So
Yeah, I don't know if it's here
that's
or
all
not,
she
but I
knows.
think we find out she's a big Star Trek fan as the series goes.
Oh, really? That's great. Well, no, she
Yeah.
just seems to know a lot about John Fielder.
Hmm.
Fiedler. John Fiedler. But she knows that he was in Star Trek, among other things.
Hmm.
And hello to Eugene Bird. I'd like to ask the panel, says Lee Anthony Davis, why don't they write good stories, characters you can invest in, and films and TV shows you can watch? Why does it have to be about representation and distorted reality? Um,
Well, I don't know if I agree. There's definitely a lot of great stories out there that have characters you can invest in, and the representation is sort of complementary to that. This goes back even to the original series of Star Trek, because I mean, at the time, I mean, it was unheard of to have a multiracial cast like they had, and I don't think in that era it was sold as that. It was more of just incidental to the situation, and
right, exactly. You just
I
happen
prefer
to
that
have
approach. Yeah,
a Russian on the
yeah. We
bridge,
and we
or
just have like a Japanese American
mm,
as the ship's pilot, and then we have a black
yeah,
woman
it
as a communication
and
officer. And
I suppose in this show those things are more of a storyline, but that's because this isn't the future yet. This is
yeah,
still the 60s where those things are issues, but they do it in a natural kind of way rather than
yeah,
like if things start to get woke, I'll I will start to point them out, but I haven't really noticed much of it yet.
yeah. I think the key is to organically sort of
Mm.
uh, dole it out. That way, it's not something that feels like forced or blatant, and that's
Right,
you don't want
the
anything to
late
do that.
right, they did have a thing where politically they wanted to have women in space, but
Mhm.
the head of NASA said they still have to pass all of the same tests that the men had to
Right.
pass with no
Yeah.
changes in criteria. And so
Mhm.
that's where this show differs from um, uh, a show that just makes um, just just gives um, certain people advantages without them having to work for it. So Danielle had to work for it, even though she did get through it a little faster.
Mhm.
Because this show does also delve into politics, so the politics of it is why she got through it faster.
Yeah.
Gavin Blackburn says, "I own 1 acre of the moon. My sister-in-law got it for me. I own F5 and Foxtrot sector recognized by the UN. Land on it, and your ship is mine." Hey, wait a minute.
Mhm.
Really?
Yep.
No.
I think there's actually some
Although,
guy in.
do
Yep.
people are there portions of the moon that are that are owned by people?
Sorry, having some
So
technical issues right now.
hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. It's just a technical issue. I'll be right back.
Okay. Well, that's an interesting question. Does anybody own bits of the moon? Gavin Blackburn says he does. Astronauts had a lot of mental stresses, but at least these guys didn't have to put up with a Vulcan. Yeah, that's true. They didn't have to, but a Vulcan would have helped with the science and stuff. So, but then there's well, you know what? I'd be fine hanging out with a Vulcan. I do like them. So she knows about Fielder's roles. He was in Get Smart, Courtship of Eddie's Father, Bewitched. There we go. And the ants are building their singing tunnels. And hello to Devil Flyer Momentum. I'm sorry, I got carried away with the way I put my question. No, that's okay. It was a fair question. That's the kind of questions that are meant to pop up for a show like this. There is good storytelling in this, which make it a little different. Because we've got Ronald D. Moore. And so she's got her ant farm, and she drops her ant farm. Spills all over the place. So she's got to clean it up. Well, and also there's technical issues aboard this station. And
Sorry about that.
oh yeah, no problem. Can you hear me now?
Hoping that this works.
And so, not to mention the kiss, says RVM 371. Hey Philip, can you hear me? There's an ant farm. It's falling. I got it in slow
I hear
motion.
you now. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I didn't realize how kind of interesting this idea would have been if it actually happened in real life.
And what in particular?
Well, I mean, just the fact that you would end up with, if you never cleaned them up, you'd end up with like an entirely different species of ant that's basically native to the moon, and
Oh, that's right.
how it would
Any
evolve
any
eventually.
new any new ants born on the moon or Mars or not moon, not Martians
Lunar ant.
because they're not on Mars. What do you call someone who is born on the moon?
There's been some different terms, but I've used the term lunarian. But
Lunarian ants. Yes. And obviously after some generations they'll adapt to the gravity of the moon.
yeah, it makes me a little curious to see where that could go eventually.
Mhm. So Danielle is talking to her husband who's undergoing some PTSD, but he won't go to a psychologist to deal with it,
Yeah,
and he's not getting a job because of it, because he won't go get help.
yeah,
So they can, I guess the symptoms of his psychological issues are manifesting during interviews, and so then he can't get a job that uses his career. He has a job, but it's one that he's not proud of. He wants one that pays a little more, that actually uses the degree that he earned going to college. And so he feels lesser, but he won't do what he needs to do to help it, unfortunately.
yeah.
Moon ants.
Hmm. Yep.
Nobody owns the moon. I dated an Australian hair Christina woman who said they actually believe it's physically impossible to touch the moon because it's so spiritual.
Hare Krishna. Yeah.
Yes, that sounds more correct. Thank you.
Yeah.
RVM 371 says in Star Trek DS9 they are called Luna Schoonas.
Yeah. Lunar schooners. Yeah.
Is this series screening on Apple TV Plus? Yeah,
Mm-hmm. That it is.
that's correct.
Apple's been hitting it pretty hard with some great science fiction television series as of late.
Gavin Blackburn says, I ain't giving up my acre on the moon. Could be space gold in it.
Yeah. Could be gold in them hills.
Yep. And so Ellen Waverly is getting interviewed by the FBI because her boyfriend is being accused of being gay. And if he is, that could be a security risk because it's a secret that could be used against him. And if he has secrets, then he can be blackmailed. And so that's why this is such a big deal. And we find out she had a history of claustrophobia that has not manifested yet in this series, nor do I know that whether it ever will. It might just be part of this interrogation. And she said she thought that she thought her medical stuff was going to be confidential.
Yeah.
So she's playing the outraged person here. And then he tells her that he can't believe that she's with him based on who she is. I forget the whole list. We're not here to talk about your boyfriend. So here it is. There's a list of it. Here, her dad was a pilot who knew Amelia Earhart and Charles Lindbergh. He started an air freight company. He's a millionaire. She and Ellen went to MIT. She studied aeronautical engineering, and she became an astronaut. So why are you with someone like Larry Wilson? Well, I don't know. Like, I don't know why that is such a big deal. You don't choose who you fall in love with, and obviously she's not in love with him. But if they were, they are friends. They do have like chemistry as good friends.
Yeah, it's a bit presumptuous of him to make that kind of an argument, and it's kind of interesting because, in a lot of ways, we don't choose what our partners or what they do with, or what they've done with their life or where they came from. We don't control that, but love works in mysterious ways, as I've always believed.
It sure does. But this FBI officer is not buying it.
No.
He's suspicious.
Yeah.
And well, but he doesn't succeed in getting her to say that Larry's gay. So that's that. The FBI does spend the episode kind of stalking her.
Yeah.
Gavin Blackburn says we haven't touched the moon physically yet. Just put boots on it and vehicles.
And we've left a
Well,
lot of.
I guess. Well, we left some of ourselves. Yes, we have.
Yeah.
But I guess you could say we have touched some of it because when you go back into the lunar module, you bring some space dust with you. And if you touch the space dust, then you touch the moons.
And not to mention all the rocks we brought back over the years too.
Moon rocks. But I know what you mean exactly. You can't actually touch the moon because, well, we can't live on the moon.
Well, I mean, I can't really say what happens without spoiler stuff, but yeah, it's interesting how that works out.
Well, I can't wait to find out.
Yeah.
Jim's Landscape LLC is here. Hello, Jim. I'd like to ask the panel, Are there certain facts that are included in this series? Because I haven't seen For All Mankind. And I also like to ask the panel, do you like astronomy? If that's okay to ask you.
Hmm.
Yeah, the series starts off with a lot of NASA history that happened in our timeline, but it quickly deviates from our timeline when Russia gets to the moon first, and so some of the facts line up with our reality, and some of them do not. And I do. I love astronomy. I'm not an astronomer, but I admire it. One of my favorite people was Carl Sagan. So, how about you,
Like,
Philip?
I guess for me, I'd say this is a pretty good, at least from my knowledge of space history, which I've been following since I was a little kid. I think it plays like it fits pretty well with it, at least my knowledge of what they were capable of at the time. There's stuff that happens later, which I think might kind of veer off into science fiction territory. But then again, I would expect technological advancements to occur in a universe where there was still more competition in the space race than what we ended up with in our own. So I can kind of forgive that. But then again, nothing that I've seen so far that happens later is outside the realm of known physics or scientific possibilities. So I don't. I would say For All Mankind is probably one of the most realistic depictions of space travel, even outside of the Expanse, because even the Expanse kind of falls back on like supernatural or like uh, extraterrestrial elements, like the proto molecule in there is kind of completely speculative. It's not exactly within the
Ah,
realm
you
of
saying we're not
physics.
going to get any aliens?
I mean,
Don't answer
I would,
that question.
well, I mean, I would bet that it's a safe bet we probably won't be. At least nothing yet. I mean, even now, I don't think we've run across anything that is
Oh no,
notable.
I don't think so. Not in reality. I
No,
mean the
but
TV show.
yeah. Um, in terms of astronomy, I've always been fascinated by it. I mean, I have a telescope that I probably should break out of my little storage unit, but I need to buy a better one because the one I had was more of like an amateur telescope. Over here at the Griffith Observatory, there's actually little star parties they have where you can bring, even there's a lot of people out there who bring like their water cooler sized telescopes, these giant like drums that um, you can see all the moons of Jupiter, all the moons of Saturn, and I've seen them through that. It's an amazing sight.
Nice. That's really cool.
Mhm.
And yeah, I have telescopes too, but they're not so good.
Mhm.
I'd like some better ones. Oh boy, I could see the moon a little bit closer. Mm, I want something a little better. And so they find the frequency at which the Russians are transmitting, I suppose. And Gordo is kind of getting obsessed with the ants. He thinks that they're going to get into the machinery and muck things up.
Mhm.
Um, Vezda is Russian for star. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. I'm dropping the Z. Zvezda. Well, everybody wants to shoot at Gordo. That was a funny joke. And so I guess Ed is getting worried about the Soviets and what they're up to on the moon and why they're so close to them, or if they're spying on them. So he wants to spy back on them.
Mhm.
Looking at the moon, with poor equipment is very frustrating. I have been lucky enough to see some celestial bodies via a private observatory, and it was stunning.
Hmm.
Is it true that Neil Armstrong reported seeing something that cannot be explained before landing on the moon?
Well, I mean, as far as I remember, I know there's a report of Buzz Aldrin supposedly seeing an object that was kind of in the distance, but it was kind of like it was like reflecting at him, like blinking at them, if I remember correctly, and it like disappeared after a while. And I think a lot of people kind of chalk that story up to it might have just been like something that fell off the command module or the lunar module as they were going toward the moon, and maybe uh, it's potentiality. I mean, there's other stories that are a little more in the realm of like paranormal lore, um, which I don't really need to get into, but supposedly Neil Armstrong in some of the stories saw something, but none of the audio has ever been made public, and so it's kind of like it might just be a story.
Without all the information, it's just talk.
Yeah.
So the kids back on Earth. Karen and
Hmm.
Tracy have to deal with the kids. Shane and Danny are still getting up to some trouble.
Hmm.
This time they're vandalizing lockers with paint, and they're painting bad words on them, I suppose, of some sort.
Yeah.
And the graffiti has to be repainted. So the parents are being charged $150.
Mhm.
But the counselor wants to get to the bottom of what the relationship problem is. And he thinks that Shane is the problem and that Danny is following him. And
Yeah.
and so I think I have a list of the things that they've been doing. Um, they cherry bombed the toilet, they smashed water meters, and they painted the lockers
Yeah.
so far.
Yeah, they're being little reckless children.
See, okay, so I know that this storyline takes a dark turn, but I was hoping it was gonna be like Deep Space Nine, where Jake and Nog, how they were getting into trouble at first,
Yeah.
and because of Nog, and Jake helped turn it around by teaching him how to read.
Yeah.
I was hoping for something cute like that to happen.
Hmm. I guess a little bit. I was kind of thinking something like that would happen too, but yeah. I mean, knowing what I
You
know
just
now, maybe that might have been better. But
mm,
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, because I think in this scene, actually, they say that Karen and Ed's son, Shane, he's the ringleader who's plotting all this stuff. And yeah, I don't think Tracy takes to that too well either. She's like,
neither
what?
of them do.
Yeah. Well,
My
I mean, I
son's
think,
not a follower.
yeah, yeah.
The Anthony Davis. We answered that question. Gavin Blackburn says to the Anthony Davis, most astronauts report seeing objects, but it was mainly put down to debris and space junk. Yeah, just like Philip said. And I guess, oh, yeah, Tracy was blaming it on the school's lack of discipline because they don't spank the kids anymore,
Yeah.
which is strange because when I went to school, I saw a paddle in the office. I never had to deal with that, but that was the
Yeah.
90s for me. So this is 70s.
I mean, I was growing up in the 90s and the 2000s, and I don't remember anybody ever being whacked with a paddle or anything. But
Hmm.
even today, there's
It could
people
be
making the
regional.
arguments that we don't do that. We should be. And I'm baffled by that.
Yeah, no, I don't really think it's helpful or anything, but
No.
but it did happen.
It's always the worst kind of people who say that. Well, it happened to me, and I came out fine. I'm like, but did you though?
That's what Tracy said. Spanking was allowed in my household, and I became an astronaut.
Yeah. That's funny about that. Yeah.
But it's a parental choice.
Yeah.
But it makes sense that it shouldn't be a school choice.
Hmm.
So back on the moon, get back to the moon. So pretty. And so they haven't found anything, and they didn't find any Russians. Part of me did want them to find Russians and talk to them and interact, but that hasn't happened yet.
Hmm.
And Ed tells Daniel that the Soviets are crafty. They're still on their part of the crater, which was there since they had planted the flag first. So I guess we mentioned this before. Who owns the moon? Who owns space? Does anybody own it? And so what I found was there's a treaty on the principles governing the activities of states in exploration and use of outer space,
Hmm.
including the moon and other celestial bodies. Oh my god, that is really long kind of
Yeah.
description, but it was a treaty from 1967 to say who owns space, and it basically says nobody does.
Yeah. It's for
But
the common
Gavin,
heritage of mankind, is what I think it says.
yes, the exploration and use of outer space shall be carried out for the benefit and interests of all countries, and shall be the province of all mankind.
But actually, there's two treaties. You have the Outer Space Treaty, which is the one you
Hmm.
mentioned, and then there's the Moon Treaty, which is like, okay, well, who's going to divvy up what's on the moon? I don't think actually we're a signatory to. I think we're only a signatory to the Outer Space Treaty. We're not a part of the Moon Treaty, and I think part of the Moon Treaty is that if you leave something up there, that's yours. So that's what you own. You can't own anything on the moon. But I think the other countries that didn't sign is China and Russia. So basically, all the countries that can actually go there basically said that no, we don't agree. We want to actually own parts of the moon, and I think that's crazy.
Well, it only takes one to say that they own part of the moon, and that starts a little change in the idea.
Yeah, and then the Outer Space Treaty doesn't cover corporate activities anywhere. So technically,
Uh,
corporations can do whatever they want in space.
right, they can own. Well, Gavin Blackburn owns some of the moon.
Yeah,
What about satellites? I don't even know.
and if you put it there, it's yours. But
Okay, okay. You covered that with that. Okay,
yeah,
that makes
but
sense.
I mean, there's even some stuff about if you get stuck up there, that
Mhm.
everybody has to have the same docking system so they can rescue you, or at least sort of a universal sort of way to rescue. Otherwise, you'll have a problem, and we don't want that.
Yeah. So Gordo went on an unauthorized walk. So he was just bored. He wanted to go hang out.
Hmm.
So Ed's not too happy about that. So
Yeah,
he punishes Gordo. And what does he do? He says that he can't leave. He's he's stuck. They actually get into a physical um well, basically Ed just tosses him around, and you remember you're on the moon the way he throws him.
yeah.
Yeah, so he throws him, and Danielle separates them. Things are just getting out of control. And Gavin says, "My lunar deed is owned by the Dennis M. Hope Lunar Embassy in Gardnerville, Nevada, USA." Yeah, he's confined to the base, and this is the guy who needs his spacewalks in order to feel normal. And so, but okay, so outside of the FBI investigation, Administrator Wisner is like, "Hey, we just want to forget all about all of this. Hey,
Mhm.
why don't you just get married to Larry? Then
Yeah.
then nobody can question
Hmm.
your relationship."
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty solid in terms of getting people away from the scent, but it's kind of funny
Mm.
that this interaction is what brings that up.
Yeah, so they're gonna have their sham wedding. They're gonna live a lie. Pam's not too happy about it, the bartender. But this administrator says President Kennedy is having this his own sexual scandal. We don't need to have that here too, because I guess in this case he's Ted Kennedy, so the Kennedy the second is
Yep.
having a scandal with Mary Jo Kopechne. Kopechne. Um,
Kopechne? Yeah,
yeah,
something
I
like
think
that.
she's a real person,
Yeah, she's a
except
real
in
person.
except in this reality she's live, and
Yeah,
then the other
it's
one she dies.
yeah, it's a thing in our timeline, but in that one, I guess, or in this timeline, she is still living, and he doesn't have to deal
Mm.
with that scandal that probably would have led to his early departure from the presidency.
Oh yeah, if he had done the same thing in our reality that he did in our reality in that one, yeah, I don't think a presidency could survive that. But I guess Ted Kennedy's gonna have these kind of scandals no matter what reality he's in. It's just gonna be when it happens.
Yeah. One of the things that's interesting too about this, about the alternate timeline so far, is that Nixon never resigns from office and only serves a single term as president.
Mhm. Yeah, he
So
just loses the next election.
yeah, and so his whole standing in history is completely different. So he's not the crook. He's just a guy who lost the moon. So that's interesting.
That is interesting that he didn't have to deal with that. And but he gets pardoned in both cases, but I guess he gets pardoned
Yeah.
sooner here.
Hmm.
And so the tape. Oh, here's the tape. They're trying to repair the tape.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll see if we get a good close up to see if it's a VHS or a Betamax. My brain told me VHS.
Because I do think Betamax is slightly smaller than a VHS tape.
Okay, so they're not going to get any more tapes because Hollywood won't allow it, but they will get a better shower.
Mhm.
So they're trying to watch the tape.
Yeah, I think even then, the Bob Newhart show is only like 30 minutes. And they only have like 6 episodes, so they're watching the
Hmm.
same like 30 minutes little series. So they're watching the same 3 hours of TV every day. That's even a
I guess
worse
I
state.
didn't really get. I didn't. I guess I didn't really get a good shot of the tape.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if they. I think they might still show it. I'm not entirely sure because I do know that something happens because there's something that happens to the tapes,
It
and
did.
that
It did. It
yeah,
already happened. It got
yeah,
eaten up.
yeah. So yeah, they're trying to reenact it now because they're you know desperate for entertainment.
Yes, and yeah, because the tape was all it got caught. It got eaten. So the tape got all wrinkly, and after a while, you just can't fix that anymore. And so they watch this tape hundreds and hundreds of times, so they know it by heart,
Hmm.
and they can recite all of the lines. Even they even know exactly when the canned laughter happens, or not the canned laughter, but the studio audience, or
Yeah,
is it canned? I don't know.
I mean, I think that's the commonly accepted term.
Mhm. And the level of laughing, a little laugh, big laugh. Because later on, when Gordo goes a little crazy, he's like small laugh instead of doing the actual laugh.
Yeah,
Hmm. A cautionary tale of no matter how bad you think things are, things can always get worse. Yeah, that's this episode. This episode, things just keep getting worse. Their one outlet of entertainment was taken from them, but they seem to be powering through it. Unfortunately, the last broadcast that Ed has with his son is to discipline him, is to be upset with him because of all of the things that Shane and Danny have been doing, all of the acts of vandalism. And so he has to tell him that he's disappointed in him. Mhm. That he's not being responsible, obviously. He's 11, so
mm,
there's something going on with him. Wish we could have figured it out.
yeah,
Right. But yeah, no, right before the holidays. Mm,
yeah.
mm, Gonna
Oof.
stop acting like a baby.
Mhm.
So, okay, so they still don't say what they're mining, what the ore is, but they're still dealing with that.
Mhm.
Um, but they're processing the ice. They've got a really cool elevator going on. A lot better than the cable wire that Molly had to use.
Yeah. Mighty fine rig, but also unfortunately can be used by more than just them.
Right. That's why I kept thinking this episode they're gonna run into a Russians using their elevator. And
Hmm.
it seems kind of not too smart for the Russians to be using their elevator, but okay.
Hmm.
You think they'd have their own elevator? And Danielle's getting bad vibes from Gordo, and so she thinks that he should be allowed to leave the base.
Yeah.
And so Ed's still doing his tracking the Soviet, looking at the footmarks, and he's got to tell the White House. And Ed's talking about the time that he hit a colonel, and they put him in a hotel room, gave him a bottle of scotch, and says, "Don't come back until your head's straight."
Mm-hmm.
And he was okay after he did that.
He's trying to use that as a way to justify, keeping them in the same sort of things. Oh, it'll just pass. It's not something that.
Right. That's a justification to put Gordo in timeout.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd find their tracks and report back to NASA. So that's what they're doing. They'll summon the Soviet ambassador. So there's a lot of this going on. What are the Soviets doing? We don't know because we haven't met them. They're not talking to us. Although they do talk about some. Oh, I like that the cue cards that they put up because they can't scramble the audio yet. They can only scramble the video. They say no sign of tampering with our equipment. So that's Ed's report that they're not actually messing with stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they say do nothing, but they hold up a cue card that says begin surveillance of Soviet activities.
Yeah.
I'm going to drink some coffee. Here's a Outpost Tavern.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this was something I already mentioned earlier. Pam doesn't like that they're going to get married. Obviously,
Yeah.
she's like, "We're done. I don't care if this is a fake wedding. This is
Mm.
the end," which makes sense. That's fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they were already over. Honestly, I was surprised they were still together in any way.
No. I mean, ultimately, I think Pam's right that you know she feels this way for Ellen, and that you know that should just be the truth. But ultimately, it's politics. It's the situation in the Cold War that kind of skew everything a certain way and make things makes them have to make certain decisions that are less optimal for her and what she wants. But it's the best choice for everybody. But
It's only the best choice because Ellen and Larry want to keep working at NASA.
yeah.
And so there's the FBI spying on Ellen. I guess
Mm-hmm.
hoping to see some fun times.
Mm-hmm.
And Gordo is waking everybody up because he wants to do the high bob thing, but it's the middle of sleeping time.
Yeah,
And
middle of the night, and
yeah,
wants to do that. So he's already starting to,
he's going stir crazy.
you know, already starting to break under the pressure.
And Ed realizes he needs a walk. He needs to go out. He needs to go apartment hunting, as Gordo calls it.
Mm-hmm.
And oh, that's another thing. Something that I didn't understand until until Gordo until Gordo gets back to Earth is that I thought that Tracy was breaking up with him and making him move into an apartment. But no, it's instead of the couch, she uses the apartment as the couch in terms of, oh, you did something wrong, you have to go to the couch. But now you did something wrong, you got to go to the apartment. So instead of getting divorced, she just sends him to this apartment, which we'll see later. It's so weird. But first, they gotta go on their walk
Yeah.
because Gordo's mental state is not so good.
No. It seems like it's deteriorating rapidly.
Yeah, it's getting worse. And so he shows him around, shows him, and Ed wants to take pictures, but Gordo says, he mentions he won't do that. No photo can capture this. And there's something he says I really like here. Reduce all this to just some chemicals doing tricks on a piece of paper. There are definitely a lot of places that cannot be captured as much on as well as reality. Because you can make some beautiful photos and videos, but being there, you can't replace it.
It's at the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, that could be an example. I haven't been there. I've only seen pictures.
Yeah, I mean, I've taken pictures and I've been there. It's like you're taking pictures of a postcard. You gotta actually be there to see it. I recommend it.
Yeah, and yep, I plan on that someday. Lunar Cabin Fever says RVM 371. And so Gordo talks about how he's fed up with being locked where he is. He doesn't like the food. He doesn't think that they're exploring. He wants to be a pioneer. He got into this because he wanted to do those kind of things, push the limit and all that. But now they seem to be homesteading, and he doesn't like that as much. Where no man has gone before. Of course, Ronald D. Moore is going to put that in there. That's why I like it out here. Of course, that was a NASA saying first before Star Trek took it, but obviously Star Trek made it famous. Build a cabin, plow the field, put up fences. And what are we doing? Plain house. He's saying. No, okay, so this is where he flips and he thinks there's ants in his pants. So he wants to take his helmet off. Obviously, that would be a bad idea. So Ed stops him from doing this. And it's a very tense scene. It's very well done because I thought for sure it was going to happen.
He might have spaced himself.
Mm-hmm. It did look like that was what was about to occur. But somehow he makes it. And they're going to have to, that's it. This is, he can't ignore it any longer. Ed has to send Gordo home. He can't, and so what this means is the end of Gordo's career. He cannot, not only can he not be an astronaut anymore, but now he will never be able to fly again at all.
Yep. And so they're all kind of, having to deal with that kind of reality that, if he goes back there, he's he's basically, in a way, killing himself because he won't be able to do anything that he loves.
Hmm. And this hits Danielle pretty hard because she's experiencing this with her husband, who's also having psychological issues and career issues. And since he can't
Mhm.
get a job in his field, he's feeling lost, and she doesn't want the same thing to happen to Gordon.
Yeah.
And so she does something amazing.
Mm.
And so obviously Gordo and Danielle have to go back home because of
Mhm.
Gordo's mental condition. But
Mhm.
Ed's going to stay behind because you can't leave the base alone, because then the Russians will pick it clean, possibly, potentially.
Mhm.
That's at least the assumption. They'll never let him fly again. Not just in space. In
And
anything.
anything. Mhm.
So he couldn't even just fly around. Yeah, not just military, but civilian.
Mhm. Okay.
So that'll do it. And so Daniel is now writhing in pain. She was trying to change a battery, a 100-pound battery, and she busted her arm doing so. I don't know how you bust your arm on purpose. This is insane. I'm glad they didn't show it because that would have been painful just to listen to, let alone
Yeah.
watch.
Mhm.
But she did. She clearly. I think there's no question she did this on purpose.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
She did this on purpose so that their reasoning for having to go back to Earth is not that Gordo is insane, but
Yeah.
that she broke her arm doing something kind of unadvisable.
Yeah.
Something that won't ruin her career and to save Gordos.
At least that's what she, initially thought. Um,
Yeah. Well, that would be the hope, right?
you know,
Was she
again, I
supposed to
can't
go?
do much.
Oh, okay. You're not gonna spoil it. Oh,
Yeah.
did she ruin her career? That would be terrible.
Well, things work out, in an interesting way, but like I can't
Mhm.
say much more. But,
Okay. Because she sacrificed for a friend and
mhm.
a partner,
Yeah.
and so they're going home, going back to Earth, and they learn what Bohica means.
Mm.
Uh,
Yeah, I'd never heard of that until this. I mean, I've heard something
is that
similar
like
to
a
it,
yeah? You have.
but yeah.
She's just pretended to know what it meant.
Mm.
Bend over, here it comes again.
Mhm.
That's hilarious. I didn't know that the whole episode either. He said she didn't know it for months.
Yeah.
She said she spent the whole episode, I mean the whole months, not knowing what it meant. So
Mhm.
so she finally learns here as they're going home. Although meanwhile, this whole time the base is empty. I kept thinking I kept thinking Ed was gonna go back and find some Russians at the base. But no, not yet. Gordo and Daniel, they go home. And Gordo is promoted. Or wait, no, Ed is promoted. Sorry. Ed is promoted to captain.
Yeah. Full captain.
Yeah. And retroactively gets a salary increase.
Mm-hmm.
And Karen has to discipline Shane for now this time in addition to all the vandalism, he is shoplifting baseball cards. And hello in the chat to Pop Culture Curator. How are you doing today? Yeah, right. That's right. RVM 371 before these episodes get horribly, horribly depressing. Bend over, here it comes again. It's hilarious.
Boob
Way of
slap.
saying, yeah, she straight up slaps him because he tells her, he tells her off that that her punishment to not go to the basketball game, to be grounded through Christmas, was crap. So
Yeah.
he's grounded. He's not supposed to go anywhere, but he
Yep.
does. He gets on his bike, not wearing a helmet.
Mhm.
But this is a cool shot of Ed doing a little spacewalk, looking
Mhm.
at the Earth, the way that we look at the moon.
Mhm. That's great.
Lee Anthony Davis says, "Hello, Don Don Ranger Power." Oh, Don Don's here. Where's he? I missed saying hi to him. Where is he? I didn't see him at all. Well, hey, it's Cam Cam. Hello, everyone. At Anti-Derivative Jill. Hi, Jill and panel. Haven't gotten around to this one. I've heard it's good, though. Yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. So,
If somebody who's watched, up to, I'm up to date on the show. I do highly recommend it.
I was watching TV. Ellen and Larry are getting married in their little sham marriage to hide the truth of their sexuality so that they can stay in NASA.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
Karen gets home thinking Shane's in trouble, he's vandalized again or
Mhm.
done something bad again. But
Mhm.
unfortunately, the cop
Mhm.
says there's been an accident.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah, that was quite the cliffhanger.
Yeah, it was. So,
I
but
love
the
that
next
though.
episode, the next episode gets, whoa, this is 2019 though. Kind of prophetic.
Maybe. I hadn't thought about that.
But this is the next episode, Rupture. This episode aired on December 6th, 2019. And it took place between December 14th and December 16th. The writer was Nicole Beatty. Director is Mira Manin. But basically, I call it the worst Christmas episode ever.
Mhm.
This it basically deals with overall, basically, should Ed be told what's happened to Shane,
Yeah.
and Gordo's voluntarily going to see a psychologist.
Mhm.
And Karen's worried. The doctor wants to know where his father is, Shane's father is, but Karen has to say, well, he's stuck on the moon. But he tells him that Shane was hit by a car while on his bike, but it was a hit and run. And so there's a strange thing about that is if it's a hit and run, I was wondering, I guess authorities aren't really being involved in this is kind of strange
Mhm.
because it's criminal. It's a criminal act to run
Yeah.
away from the scene of a crime.
Mhm. Yeah, I
But
kind
he
of wonder
has
how
a.
they,
You wonder what?
I kind of wonder how things of that nature would have gone down back then.
Hmm. I'm not
I mean,
sure.
today we have all kinds of stuff. We have like surveillance. We have you know
Right. And well,
phones.
so many
So,
people have phones. So many people have cameras on their houses. So you'd
yeah.
be able to see.
So,
But Shane suffered head injuries. His skull's fractured. His brain is bleeding, and they're doing surgery to drain that. Not good. And
I
she
actually
is
think
just
I think
yeah,
this was the episode that got my dad more interested in the show. But
really.
yeah, it's
This is
definitely
this is
not.
the episode that made me cry for like at least a quarter of it. My
Yeah,
goodness. It's a lot of it's more melodramatic.
yeah, I think he responds well to good drama.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense because this is full of it. Danielle and Gordo are doing Capcom with Ed to make him feel better to talk to his crew.
Mhm. Yeah, I think the isolation doesn't hit him as hard because he has this mission that they've given him, and he's not going to stop until he finishes that mission.
Right. He has his plans to complete.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's his idea. I pressed the link Stream Elements and I'm following Scotty on Twitter. Oh, cool. that it's Scotty is pretty funny. So he'll post some irreverent humor. I hope you enjoy it. Cam's Crash Courses says to Lee Anthony Davis, "Hi Lee, good to see you again. Thanks for subscribing to Donnie's channel. He's a great guy and a super fan of all things well done." Very nice. And so Gordo's being celebrated for piloting the for piloting Danielle back home, and they're having a little talk show. And during this talk show, they're congratulating Ellen Waverly for becoming Ellen Wilson for her because of her wedding. And really, they're doing it because they're interviewing the people who are going on Apollo 24 to go save Ed from the moon.
Yeah.
With so Deke Slayton's also there, and also Harry.
Mhm.
Harry, where's his last name?
And it's
Ellen, Harry, and
Ursula.
Deke.
Mhm.
What's his last name?
Lou.
Lou. Okay. I mean, he's Chinese and Chinese American, and his name's Harry. Is this not a reference to Voyager or like
I
Ronald D?
kind
What
of
would you?
think that might be a reference, but I'm not entirely sure.
No, nobody talks about it, so everybody's kind of ignoring it.
Mm.
I tried to look it up. Is this an official reference? But I can't find anything.
So I kind of think it's also kind of a reference to one of the astronauts that was on Space Shuttle Challenger when it had its disaster, Ellison Onizuka, but just in
Mhm.
terms of Asian American astronauts.
Yep. Sorry, I'm mowing lawns. Hey, that's all right, Jim. We got to keep those lawns clean. And we're glad to have you. You should check out our friend Pop Culture Curator. He does great streams about classic shows, movies, and more. Yeah, that's true, Cam Cam. And also, Lee Anthony Davis subscribed to Captain Phantom Nerd. He hasn't done a stream in a while. I hope he does again someday. We used to have really fun morning streams. So they're saying the talk show was questioning having women in space given Daniel's injury, but Ellen was backing her up during that. Like injuries happen to anybody; they're not gender specific, and so so Daniel was happy to see that.
Mhm.
Hmm. So so and because besides it wasn't an accident, she totally broke her arm on purpose, but she can't say that, or she'll put
No,
Gordon's career in trouble.
yeah. Which is why it's kind of funny what happens later with Gordo and that.
Yeah. Oh, something I haven't seen yet.
Yeah, I don't know if it's in this episode or the next one, but yeah, something happens.
Something happened. I like
But I
the
mean,
idea of reusing the LEM because
mhm,
usually it lands and that's it, and so
yeah,
now they're reusing it. That's cool.
there's kind of elements of like Apollo 13 right here where they're trying to like work a problem and figure it out
Hmm. Oh, Apollo
using just
13.
what's available with the equipment they have.
Oh, right. That was pretty cool. I know. Yeah, I've seen the movie.
Houston, we have a problem. We have a main bus B undervolt.
I had more clips from that. I should bring them in.
I recommend it.
And so they're trying to figure out what their cargo is going to be. They're doing all the systems tests. 20,000 pounds of food and gas. But he gets corrected. And oh, these guys, they think that people are only being hired for their gender or background instead of meritocracy instead of being hired for their abilities.
Mhm.
And and I kind of I think you can have a combination. You can have meritocracy still work. I think the best person should be hired for the job, regardless of your background.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
bare minimum.
Yeah, right? But also we found out a few episodes ago that it isn't just meritocracy that drives NASA, but also politics.
Hmm.
And that's what Margot had to do to be flight director. It was play politics.
Yeah.
Gordo's talking to a psychiatrist, and because he also has a wife who's an astronaut, so he's also kind of feeling uncertain about her trips. Kind of feeling what Tracy's been having to feel this whole time,
Mhm.
or Karen.
Table's turn now.
Mhm. But it's also weird because Tracy is sending him to the apartment whenever he's done something wrong.
Yeah.
And so he's suffering the effects of having been stuck in space for 145 days. And There's almost a breakthrough here, but he's like, "Where's the couch?" And Gordo he has to admit to Tracy about the psychiatry, but that's not this scene. This is Aleda having her completely serialized story of her developing her math and science skills under
Mhm.
the mentorship of Margot, but
Mhm.
she's experiencing some extracurricular activities also
To say the least,
involving.
yeah.
Yeah, she's got a boyfriend.
Mhm.
Oh, and he found the psychiatrist in the yellow pages, and
Yeah.
those aren't around anymore. I remember the last one I got was so thin. They used to be so thick, and then they started shrinking until they became
Yeah.
nothing.
I remember when they used to be, you could kill someone with them. They were so big.
Yeah, they pretty much had every company, every business in the city listed in it.
Mhm.
But if NASA finds out he's seeing a psychiatrist, he'll be kicked out or in trouble of some sort. And Jim's Landscape says, anyone see Jay from Sci-Fi Nation acting as a Vulcan? Video released yesterday. So check out Jim's Landscape for a video that he's produced with Jay from Sci-Fi Nation being a Vulcan. There's a large okay, so they're doing some more construction, so they're figuring out that the Russians are doing construction, subterranean construction, or under the moon construction. What do you wait a minute? Terranean is Earth. So what's what's the word for digging, making basements on the moon?
Well, I guess,
Need new words for everything.
I mean, I think, because maybe we call it extraterrestrial. And,
Yeah, subterranean actually.
I think
Alright.
all it means is underground. So,
Yes. Underground is all it means. But I wanted a fancy word.
I mean, I would assume it would be something like sublunarian, but
Yes, that's what I wanted. Thank you.
hmm.
And so the person working under the president wants to keep this about the science and the exploration, and the other guy's like backing up Ed, saying, "Is this a military thing?" So that's contention. And Tracy comes to support Karen because while Shane is getting surgery to see if that helps. And hello to Penny. Penny says, Jill just dropped off my grandson, headed home, listening while driving. Oh, how are you doing, Penny? That is, well, definitely don't answer my question. Pay attention to the road and answer it when you get home. So, so I just skipped over that entire scene, but basically what happened there is Karen is in kind of a state of just thinking everything's going to be fine. She's thinking Shane is strong. He's young, just like the doctor said. There's possibility he can get through this. So she still has hope. And Ed goes down to the crater to find out the Soviets they put a camera there, and Weisner says to leave it alone because they don't want any kind of incident to happen. Oh, that was that previous scene. But he also finds something else that's in the crater wall and something else that the Russians left there. It's some kind of little structure, something. I don't know what it is. He's
I
told
think
to
it's like
do nothing about it.
that was like a type of camera or something.
Is it a camera? I know that there was a camera, but there's also this box here. And I'm not sure. Is that a camera? You're saying that one's a camera? What is this?
I thought that was supposed to be like a super secret Soviet camera, or at least a sensor.
Okay. Yeah, some kind of sensor, something. I felt like it was something more. And he's told just leave it alone. But Ed's like, no, it's in our space. It's in our area. This is our thing. So you know that the Russians are down there doing stuff in the crater. Do not want an international incident. So Cam Cam says, nice, we appreciate it and hope you enjoy. Cheers. So there's a whole lot of dealing with the actions of the Russians without really knowing what's going on. And Tracy won't leave even though she's supposed to be doing simulations. She's supposed to do simulations because she's going up into space for some spacewalk work with Cobbs. So Cobbs gets a mention. I don't know. Get to see this mission later or not. But finally, we have the bad news that there was too much time between when Shane was found and when he was taken to the hospital, so he's lost too much oxygen. And according to all of the EKGs, Shane is brain dead.
Yeah.
So that is his brain isn't. There's no activity, and and that's why this episode was so hard for me to watch. Like just because I recently had to deal with this with a friend.
Yeah, it's understandable. I mean, I was related or led. I related to it for a bunch of people in my own family that I've had to sort of watch waste away, and
Mhm. Well, this also happened to my grandpa too,
sorry to hear
a
that.
couple years ago. Mhm.
It's not easy,
No, it isn't.
and it doesn't get easier.
And you know that feeling of denial that you want to have, like, oh no, it's gonna be okay. They've got to wake up, right?
Mhm.
And so she goes for a second opinion, and a lot of times in these TV shows, a second opinion. Oof, oh,
Yeah,
I can't look at that. It's terrible. And so they're talking about whether or not to tell Ed about this because he's supposed to be concentrating on getting back home. And this kind of psychological trauma, being grief stricken in space might not be good for the mission.
yeah.
But
Well, I think ultimately it
Deke
was.
thinks, yeah, go ahead.
I was saying I think it was the best call to have Karen kind of make the decision.
Yeah, it is. Deke thinks, though, that Ed would want to know.
Hmm.
It's, yeah, Margot's ultimate decision is that it should be up to Karen. But Karen hasn't faced reality yet at this point.
Yeah,
Because this episode is so difficult to watch. I'm able to talk about it now, but last night I was a total mess. because also in addition to what I already mentioned, I am a mother, and this is definitely the kind of worst nightmare scenario situation.
Yeah.
However, Karen is more than that. She is the wife of an astronaut, and every time Ed goes up there, she's worried that Shane is going to be left without a father one day. So, so, so preoccupied that she was with this that she probably didn't even consider that the opposite could happen.
Yeah.
She's completely, totally blindsided.
Yeah, I don't have any kids yet, but I would imagine that that feeling would be, pretty awful.
Hmm. Yeah, shows like this are worse after you become a parent. You can really feel it. Aleda's told that she has to make a decision. Does she want to have her choice in college and become the best that she can be? Or is she going to choose having a boyfriend? Apparently, she has to make this sacrifice because there is she doesn't outright say you can't have a boyfriend, but she's basically saying your time, how you spend your time is important. And she gets as a note to this, she's getting a scholarship to an important school that's going to be across town from her boyfriend, so she won't be able to really keep up that relationship anymore if she goes to this really cool school. That'll let her get into any college she wants.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll see what decision she makes. I don't know. Her story is a little tougher for me to get into because this is the part of the show that's entirely serialized. There's no completion to any of her stories. It's just strung along, and that doesn't bother me because the episode is a complete story.
Yeah.
So I just kind of have to wait for Aleda to get her own complete story. Eventually, I'm sure it'll happen. Penny says Starbucks pit stops 30-minute drive ahead of me, Jill. Ooh, Starbucks. Ah, coffee. I have coffee right here. And the super sticker. Thank you so much for the super sticker. Here Karen is not telling Ed the truth. Oh, the acting. What's the name of Karen's actor? Because she's really incredible in this episode. She makes me cry like over and over again.
And she's really
Let's
good.
find out. She's Her name is Chantel Van Satin.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh wow. And Eugene Bird sends me a super sticker saying, "You are amazing." Thank you, Eugene Bird. For the Carpenter. Hmm. Hmm.
Change is the essential process of all existence.
Do not mistake composure for ease.
Yeah. Wise words.
Yes.
No Spock and
And
Tuvok.
yeah, Spock and Tuvok. Well, I think Tuvok right there kind of explains Vulcans pretty well in that sentence.
Yeah.
They have emotions, but they're able to control them. Cam says Thanks for supporting Jill that way. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Eugene Bird. That's why I played those clips. Penny says, had a hectic morning taking my pregnant daughter to have an infected tooth pulled. Oh, yikes. Grandson was a handful. Hmm. And the carpenter said it's going to be an extra $20. Yeah, so she's talking about nothing because she's lying to Ed.
Yeah.
And this is the part where she's kind of fumbling with her words, not quite knowing how to answer questions. She's straight up lying about the basketball game,
Yeah.
but they also reminisce about him as a baby, as a child.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to reveal so much, but I don't remember if anything if what I want to say happens in the next episode or in the next couple minutes.
Oh man. And Margot is gonna back up Karen's decision to not tell Ed.
Yeah.
But she has to convince everybody on the floor to also do that. And Gordo and Danielle do not like the idea of lying to their crewmate.
Yeah.
So he's exercising when he finds out the Russians send this message.
Yeah.
So while everybody's trying to keep Ed in the dark, the Russians send a message: deepest sympathies about your son. So he thinks that these are mind games played by the Russians because he can't fathom that his own friends and colleagues would be lying to him,
Yeah.
which they are.
Yeah. It's too good.
Mhm. So he gets upset at the Russians here, not knowing what's actually happening, and he goes and destroys that thing.
Yep.
That super secret camera surveillance, whatever it is,
Hmm.
and smashes it to hell.
Yeah. It's so crazy.
It is, and well, what's even worse, Dr. Weddle
Yeah. That's a reference
is
to Outriders.
oh yeah, reference to somebody who works on the show.
Yeah.
He says there's nothing he can do. So that's the second opinion.
Hmm.
So she has to face the reality
Yeah. That was supposed to be
of
the
a
big
dead child.
the big
Paper.
doctor who could solve it, and it's like, nope, I can't. Well,
Hmm.
that's it.
Yeah, and so she actually has to grieve now. And
Mhm.
this is someone who at the beginning of the series was always putting on a brave front, not pretending she wasn't worried about her husband being in space. And now all of that is gone because that's her baby.
Yeah. It's I mean, it's kind of crazy how it turns out because the Russians send this thing and you think it's a mind game, but it's actually like the Russians are being like legitimately like you know they want to express their condolences, and then he's like, yeah, they're just playing with me. It's like, no, this is all real. They're being honest.
Right. And I think it is more of an olive branch. It's
Yeah.
not, I don't think it was meant to be hurtful
No.
because what's actually happening on Earth is everybody knows about this. Everybody
Yeah.
but Ed.
Yeah.
And so it's all over the TV. The press even goes into the hospital, and Tracy has to beat him with a shoe or something. I forget what she beats him with. And Danny's Hot Topic says, "Hello, where's Scotty?" Well, he's I don't know. He's in Canada. He's not here. Sorry, sorry, Daniel. But no, no. This I'm even.
Yeah.
So Karen has to call Ed and tell him the truth. So he knows now.
Mm-hmm.
And so he turns off everything, and he sits there with a bottle of Gordo's smuggled whiskey.
Yeah.
That's obviously NASA wouldn't have allowed liquor like that, but
Mm-hmm.
Tracy was smuggling it on some of the previous supply runs,
Yeah.
and eventually Ed confiscated it and hid it, and now he needs it.
Yeah. Most definitely.
And Karen's falling back into trying to just not deal, and she's working on the funeral.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, that's a brutal episode. That is so hard to it's so hard to watch. It's hard to review.
Mm-hmm. That's understandable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think going into the last two, um, somehow things escalate in a way that pays off in a way that I think is surprising. So um, I'm looking forward to watching that and checking that out with you, and moving forward
Mm.
on the next couple of seasons.
Well, hopefully we step away from the melodrama a little bit and get into some more
Well,
forms,
I don't
more of
think.
the
Well,
good
I
stuff.
think yeah. After this point, I don't think we do as much melodrama. It's more of
More
I suppose like
more
a
about the
thriller. I
Russians
suppose.
and more thriller? Okay,
Yeah.
that's good news. That's
Yeah.
good news. I don't think I can handle another episode like that. Please don't do that to me again.
Actually, I think this is the worst it gets,
Okay.
but there's something else that happens later on that I'm sure we'll discuss. But that's like a season two thing. But this is like the worst, like worst in the terms of like sheer emotion. That's like gutting. But
Yeah. Okay. So it's not gonna. The show's not gonna break my heart like this again.
I mean, I don't think it not like this, I suppose. But
Mm,
there will be heartbreak ahead, but it won't be like that
okay.
because
Because that
with
was
time characters
that was
leave the
so rough.
show, but you know,
Yeah. Yeah. Right. That makes sense because there are time jumps, and that
yeah,
makes sense. I think supposedly the first season is 5 years, and I guess there's going to be a time jump after season one. But
yeah,
I'll experience it as it happens.
yeah. I mean, each season. I mean, they say this as part of the marketing material, so it's not like a spoiler or anything. But each season, it's another decade. So this first season, we're kind of just exploring the end of the '60s, kind of getting into the '70s, and the next season after that's '80s, and then so on and so forth. And so I think they do a very interesting thing with kind of portraying every decade as they move through it. And I'm really happy to see you. I'm really looking forward to seeing what you think as they move forward in the timeline.
Yeah, that's what I'm ready to see. I'm ready to see a little cooperation and figure out how the future unfolds. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, because I think in the first episode, the character Gene Kranz, who's based on the real life flight
Mhm.
director, he actually says like we're not going to stop at the moon. We're going to go to Mars, the asteroids, Saturn, and the stars.
Galaxy.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so that's kind of that whole line is basically, I think, setting up the expectations for the rest of the series and um, where we're going to go with it. So even I'm
I
curious to
buy
see where
that.
we're going to go.
Well, definitely. There's going to be a season 5, right? So
Yeah. Well, I think they
there's
said
definitely
there's
more to look forward
yeah.
to.
The plan is for a 7 season series. So hopefully we get it.
Oh, a complete. Oh, wow. Okay. Ronald D. Moore was not kidding about doing a parallel to Star Trek, even though this is more of a parallel to um Earth history, possible Earth history, Earth um possible near future science fiction is what this is.
Yeah.
When we eventually get to it, when I don't know how far past 2024 they're gonna go. Um,
I
what
mean,
year are they in? What year are they in season 4?
I think we just finished the 2000s. So
Okay.
the end of this season kind of hinted at the next decade. So season 5 will be the 2010s, and then so I imagine season 6 will be like an alternate present day, like today, and then
And then
um,
season 7 will be the near future.
yeah, an alternate near future. And so it'll be interesting to see.
That's really what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah,
I'm like, hey, your series has just started.
yeah. I mean, I don't want to like kind of guess too far ahead, but I would imagine that the very end of the show will have like a distant finale where it's like all the stuff we've been watching for the past 7 seasons or whatever.
Mhm.
They make a giant time jump to like where things go 100, 200 years down the road, and maybe that'll even be that's set up for another spinoff, as we know they're
Oh,
already
okay,
doing
right,
Star City.
exactly.
So yeah,
Well, he's doing the Star Trek formula of 7 seasons.
yeah,
Except for Enterprise, of course, they didn't get all of the seasons.
yeah,
Thanks to Les Moonves.
yep,
Um, but yeah, that's great. Well, when we do get to season 4, we can speculate all we like. It's
yep.
not spoilers if we don't actually know what's going to happen.
No, that's a good thing about it.
Lee Anthony Davis says, "May I ask you, guest panelist, when will he be doing live streams?" Okay, so I'm not sure what he's saying. Doctor Who, Star Trek, Blake 7, X Files, The Prisoner, and Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy are some of my favorites. So will you be doing live streams?
For
That's the
me,
question.
I don't know if I've ever. I mean, I've watched a little bit of Doctor Who, but I can't say I'm big a fan of it. But I love Star Trek. I love Blake 7, X Files, The Prisoner, and Hitchhiker's Guide. So it's always possible.
Yeah, right. That's a really good list.
Yeah.
Eugene Bird says, "Hail Cam Crash Courses. It's my favorite channel, and you can tell she does a lot of work clipping these shows, as well as being a kind person." Thank you so much, Eugene Bird. I appreciate that sentiment. I do try to do my best and trying to do whatever research I can. And luckily I got someone here who knows what they're talking about in terms of NASA and stuff. So that's also good.
Well, I certainly try.
You do. Jill is an amazing creator and a lovely person. Glad you're a fan and here with us. Cheers.
Mhm.
And Donnie, there you are, Donnie. Hey, Donnie, you just got a new subscriber. The Anthony Davis subscribed to you today. Also, rest in peace, Richard Simmons, Dr. Ruth, Westheimer, James B. Sicking, and Jacob B. Jones. Thank you,
And
Donnie.
yeah, it was a real rough week because we also lost Shannon Doherty and I think a couple others. It's been pretty wild.
Yeah. Yeah. They just keep stacking up.
It's going to be like 2016 where we lost everybody.
Oh, boy. And you got some new subs today. Jill and I were singing your praises. Yes, indeed. Thanks for having me on the comments and reading my comments out. I will see you on your next stream. Bye for now, says Lee Anthony Davis. See you later, Lee. Thank you for hanging out with us and asking all of those really cool questions. Keeps things engaging when the chat has such intelligent discourse. Gavin Blackburn says the series should end on Archer on the bridge of the NX-01.
That
Yes.
would be a dream, or something similar.
Wow.
We can dream.
Exactly. Well, yeah, exactly. It's which. Well, then the question is, which is Ephraim Cochrane is this show going to pick?
Yep, very true.
So take it easy, have some fun. All right. So those are our episodes for this week. Let me see what our episodes for next week are. List of Raw Mankind episodes. So let's do it this way. So we're still on season 1 next week. We just watched Hi Bob and Rupture. And so next week, next Tuesday, we're going to finish off season 1 with season 1, episode 9, called Bent Bird, where a crisis in space puts Apollo 24 and 25 crews in peril. Well, okay. Then episode 10 is called A City Upon a Hill, where Ed handles a trespasser. Hey, that's what I was waiting for. Ellen and Deke chart a new course without mission control. So those sound fun. Those sound like back to what I want.
Yeah, we'll definitely experience that next week. As long as you haven't gotten tired of me yet.
No, not yet. I'll let you know.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad that Olivia Rodrigo did win 2 Kids' Choice Awards, says Donnie. Sentai Ranger Donnie. He loves her music. So, yes, thanks for clarifying what that was. I did not tune in for the Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards. I can't remember the last time I did. I think the last time I did was like in the 90s.
Yeah, I don't know when I did that either.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to at least be the 2000s.
Yeah, fair enough.
Probably more towards the earlier part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I started watching the. I don't know what I did when I was a kid, but like around 2001, I hopped into the Voyager just ended, and then I decided to watch Enterprise when that came out, and then like a couple years later, we have the Battlestar Galactica miniseries.
Right. Hey, Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, that's not like a kids show, and so I was like 11 watching it, and then that turned into a
you
show.
watched the classic one.
I watched that the one from '78 as well. I watched that one first when I was even younger. But
right.
yeah, it was. Yeah, my childhood was really strange in that I was kind of exposed to all this kind of. I feel like we had like a little mini golden age in the 2000s because we had Battlestar Galactica, Enterprise, and then all the Stargates, and yeah.
Oh, for sure, Stargate was one of my favorites. It's such a good show.
Yeah. Yeah, we had 3 hours where you could watch SG-1, Atlantis, and Battlestar in one go. It was amazing.
Right, and Battlestar, of course, also created by Ronald D. Moore, in a reaction to not getting what he wanted in terms of writing for Voyager. He wasn't able to do the kind of writing he wanted to do, so he went off and did it for a different show.
Yeah. Yep, that's definitely true.
But that's the way to do it. If you got an idea and you can't You're being boxed in creatively. Makes sense to go off and do your own thing, and he did. And
I mean,
looks
I
like he did
still,
here.
yeah. Voyager's my favorite show, and Janeway's my favorite
Mm,
captain. But
wow.
even I'll recognize that there's places it could have gone really crazy. Because I mean, there's that episode, two-parter, Year of Hell, that is like a great window into what it could have been.
What it
And
could have been, yeah, exactly. And it just never it
yeah,
never actually happened that entire episode.
yeah. But
Mhm.
I mean, I guess you can make the argument with the two-parter Equinox as well. It's kind of a window into kind of how things could have been too. But maybe not
Well, it's
that way.
definitely would have been more interesting if previous destruction, previous damages to the ship carried forth into other episodes and they had to deal with those kind of issues instead of getting that reset button every week as if they actually could go to a star base, but they didn't
Yeah,
have any star bases. So how are they resetting so easily
yeah,
without and and you can't even use the excuse that most Star Trek uses, which is, that you've got all this endless energy.
mhm,
But because Voyager had a stick about about saying, no, we're running out of power. We got to find a lithium, and so they were
yeah,
always having to find a gas station.
yeah. I mean, that's kind of the interesting thing about the shows. Like, it essentially just devolves, not devolves, but sort of becomes the next generation because Voyager has their own holodeck episodes, their own episodes where wacky things happen with the transporter. But it's like, you
Well,
know, would things
to
have been
mix.
more interesting if that things would have gone? Things would have been more interesting if you would have had lost access to those things, and they have to get a little more desperate. And that to me is fascinating, and that's kind of what I want to do in my own little novel stuff I want to write eventually. But
Oh, hey. Well, if Star Trek's inspired you to write your own science fiction, that's awesome.
yeah,
Can't wait to
uh,
see it.
yeah, I'm hoping anything can happen to me, but ideally I live long enough to like finish it out because I have like a whole story
Mm,
thing built up around it. But you know,
nice.
it's gonna take a while to kind of finish it.
Well,
But
good storytelling isn't easy. So,
that's definitely true.
so speaking of good storytelling, we'll check out these stories next week. Uh, RBM 371 says the year of hell. You
Hmm.
see the Voyager go through a pounding without relief and see
Yeah.
the ship and the crew in a very sorry state.
Hmm.
All the two parters were good. The Scorpion and the two, Janeway and Chakotay at loggerheads, was the way the series should have been.
Yeah,
It says Gavin.
that I do agree.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm going through a watch through of Voyager, so I need to go finish that
Hmm.
on season 6.
Yeah, I think that was the first show I grew up watching live. I mean, I
Mhm.
was old enough to watch Deep Space Nine, but my dad wasn't really into Deep Space Nine, so I didn't watch it as much. But
Gotcha.
you know, one day I have to sit down and watch Deep Space Nine all the way through because I imagine, at least from what I've been told, that um, you know, I mean, I've been told a lot of stuff about it. I'm interested in seeing how that kind of worked out. But
Yeah, you
um,
might have a different perspective.
yeah, and I've kind of already kind of brought it up where I kind of think that a Borg war would have probably been more interesting because of what Cisco and his arc was. But maybe
Right,
I'll write that as a
exactly.
fan
How
fiction
he
thing one
how
day.
he lost how he lost his wife and how
Yeah,
his relationship with Picard
yeah,
wanting to just deck him.
yeah, yeah. Maybe I'll write that as a fan fiction thing one day. We'll see.
Cool. All right. That's a good idea. Fan fiction's great. That's
Yeah,
that's how honestly how we get Star Trek these days. It's the little more aligned with what Star Trek should be in
yeah.
because the fans care a little more than the current property holders.
Well, I mean, we have 2026, which I'm told is the contract deadline
Mhm.
for Kurtzman. So now with Paramount and
Yeah.
Skydance, I don't know if that's gonna like they're gonna renew him again or if they're gonna pick somebody new. But in either
Right,
case,
and
I'm curious.
mhm. I'm curious too. I I don't know if I don't know if I really trust the executives to do the right thing, but we will see.
You know, and the problem with always these executive meddling stuff is they tend to always think bottom line. It's never about the art. It's always about you know what's going to give us the biggest numbers, what's going to get attract us the most eyeballs, and maybe there's some merit to that, but at other times it's like, how are you really making something that is representative of the property, or are you just making something that's a quick buck, and you're kind of whittling down what it meant to the fan base, and then I think there's always a good point, like a happy medium where you should be free to take risks with your storytelling and do whatever you want, but you don't want to alienate your entire audience either. But you should be open to experimentation. But you know,
Absolutely well said. I agree with that 100%. And hopefully that I don't know what's going to have to happen for them to see that making Star Trek in a way that fans will appreciate will be good for their bottom dollar. I
mhm,
think you can have both. Cam
yeah,
Cam's Crash Courses says Clobby lives. Yes, rest in peace, Clobby. I was thinking about you watching this episode, and man, did it hurt. I miss you a bunch. Check out our dear friend at Clobberin Times, Mike Clobby was is among the best of fans and creators. Yes, this is true.
mhm,
Thank you, Cam Cam. Yeah, every once in a while I do put on a Clobby show, and listen to him.
mhm.
It's always a good listen.
You can check that out.
Mm. Yeah, he's got a library. He was an encyclopedia of knowledge,
Mhm,
of geek knowledge.
mhm.
And just when you think that he only knows certain things, he knows so much more than you could guess. Now that Boom Studios is ending its Power Rangers comic book series, says Donnie. After 8 years and 120 issues, I hope IDW would pick them up. I hope for a Power Ranger Star Trek comic book crossover. Oh, Donnie loves his crossovers.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting. I believe IDW did a Star Trek Planet of the Apes crossover. I haven't read it yet, but I want to.
Wow, cool. Well, see, I wish I could play previews for the next episodes, but I get copyright claimed for them, so I think I'll just not do that.
It's a shame.
And then, yeah, right. I'm glad I am able to do the screenshots.
Mhm.
IDW did a TNG Doctor Who crossover as well.
Yeah, they did.
There was some, like, I heard rumors that Doctor Who and Enterprise were supposed to do something at some point, but I'm really confused as to what was supposed to happen there, like in actual broadcast.
Yeah, I think there was discussion of that, like in season 4 or season 5 of Enterprise, or they were gonna possibly do that for season 5 of Enterprise. And I think there was a discussion about using. I know a little bit about Doctor Who. I don't know a lot, but the Ninth Doctor at the time, Christopher Eccleston, he was going to be the guy who was going to pop up in Enterprise, I believe, and
Mhm.
that would have been wild.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I don't know what they were gonna do with that. Cam
yeah,
Cam says, "I can still hear his voice in my head sometimes, like Gil. The world isn't as bright without them." Yeah, for sure. That's right. But I hope that you guys have a good rest of your Tuesday, and we'll see you next time with the next 2 episodes on Friday. I'm going to be reviewing Shaun of the Dead,
well,
and so that'll be a good time. So, Philip, can you tell me about your channel and what you're doing on the internet? Anything you want to promote?
Okay. Yeah. I'm Philip A. Leavenworth. I'm a emerging sort of YouTuber. My channel is Fleet Admiral Levi. I do my best to kind of explore science fiction, fantasy, and horror. I do. I'm hoping to do more analysis of movies, television, and maybe some comic books, whatever kind of interests me at the time, and kind of maybe eventually dive into some world building stuff for a couple of stories I'm doing. And they're kind of like For All Mankind in the sense that my biggest body of work is set in an alternate timeline that also has sort of a uh, space-based adventure to it as well. But we go a little crazier than where For All Mankind goes, because in mine we have access to warp drive today, not possibly hundreds of years from now. But that's going to be for a later video. I'm pretty loud on Twitter. I'm pretty well known for my arguments online, but you can follow me on Twitter at or X at the Phil one. I'm the only one that's the real Phil. If you run into anybody else, it's probably a copycat that's trying to defame me or make me look bad. So if you run into those people, please report them. But yeah, aside from that, I'm thinking about publishing some books pretty soon on Amazon, so they'll be on my Twitter X links if you check those out. But definitely subscribe, like. I post on the community tab sometimes as well, so just keep updated, and I hope you're interested in the adventure to come.
For sure. Sounds like a bunch of good stuff happening there. And it was nice to chill with you and Philip again. Looking forward to the next review. Until next time, stay anti-derivative and chill. Thank you, RVM371. And Johnny also says thank you. Jill, Phil, and all. Enjoy the MLB All-Star game this evening and part 1 of the final season of Cobra Kai.
That's right. It's coming out.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, that'll be a thing. Cam, thank you for being here, Cam. Thank you. Thank you to DJ Play Nice. He's glad we're doing Shaun of the Dead. Cam says, thanks, Jill and Philip. Great show. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Take it easy and have some fun, everyone.
Yeah.
Yes, and thank you, everyone else who was here also. Gavin Blackburn and Lee Anthony Davis. Thank you for all your interesting comments. Eugene Bird, thank you for the present. Penny, thank you for being here also and listening while you're driving around with your coffee. And Pop Culture Curator, thank you for stopping by, as well as Jim's Landscape. Hope the mowing is going well. Let's see. And also, yeah, Canadian Spider-Man was also here. Edge of Time. Oh no, I never said Edge of Time. I never said hi. He said greetings from the Edge of Time. Man, can't believe I missed saying hi to him. I missed that chat. Sorry about that. And Sci-Fi Sit Down. Great that you were here. And Scotty R37 was also here at the very beginning, as well as Maddie's daddy. And that's everybody, I believe. And Penny is home as we close the show.
Very nice.
So definitely, like Franco always says, please subscribe. We celebrate science fiction, which is my favorite type of escapism, and enjoy the good things in life. Sometimes reality can be a little dark, and so these stories help us understand how to deal with that sometimes. And so let's try to do that. And next time. And I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye now.
Learn all that is learnable.
and the ways our differences combine to create meaning and beauty.
It has always been easier to destroy than to create.
Well, now you have something new to think about. Carry on.
All right, move along. Done. Stop it. Get off of the things. Go outside. Get some food. It's like, it's a time of day where you live. Go do something. Shut up, Snoopy. I don't care. You smoke too much. Let's go. Let's go adventure. Let's go explore.
See you around the galaxy.